Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. But is it even a Mordian Glory video, or is it in fact a Admiral video? Because I am joined by Salty Simon.
Hey, you all right?
I'm all right, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Bit knackered.
Bit knackered? Why? What you been doing? What's been knackering you?
Oh, playing bloody Old World against you yesterday. It's exhausting.
It's all right, isn't it?
It's keeping up with your hyper energy. I'm just like, just calm down, will you? And now that you've moved all the the battle bunker around, whatever it's called, I can't get to the seat. So I'm an old man having to stand up for 3.5 hours kills me.
You will. It's like when they take all the chairs out of the sweatshops to make people work harder. That's what it's like.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's not because I needed to change things so I could make the lighting better in the room. I'm so selfish. I'll get you a chair. I'll get you a chair. There you go.
Cool stool, though.
I got a camping stool. Will that do?
No.
And put it down. There we go.
Oh, dear. A middle-aged man problems.
No. We'll sort something out. We're going to get cries for justice for Simon's ass down in the in the comment section now. But yeah, we played a bit of Old World yesterday.
Mm.
We played a bit of Old World.
It
was a good game. It's a very good game, and it's actually meant. I don't mean to alarm you, but we have a topic of discussion for today, rather than just the usual drivel and waffle that I do. I shouldn't say we. That I do. Yeah.
I just sit here exasperated.
Increasingly exasperated, both within the video and week by week.
Questioning life choices.
Exactly. But I want to talk about two things today. And there might be other things that come up, of course.
Let's just be clear. There's no way you are only going to talk about two things.
Two broad topics which may within them contain several other topics. Or may lead via, having two prepared topics, Simon, is more than usual. There could be less prepared topics, but it's more than usual. Normally, I don't have any prepared topics, but it's more than usual. It's more topics than usual.
It's one of the topics about how many orcs you have. Is that?
It actually is.
Oh, right.
Kind of. No. So the broad topic that I want to talk about was our game yesterday and what we thought about 1.5, and then also within that I did want to talk a little bit about how it felt to actually have more orcs than usual, but in a not taking the piss kind of way. And then secondly, secondly, I wanted to talk about Belgian mortar. No, secondly, I wanted to and the second thing I want to talk about is and I think this makes it sounds in a disparaging way, but I don't really mean it in a disparaging way. But secondly, I want to talk about the 40Kification of games that GW makes, and not necessarily. And I don't want to talk about it in a negative or moaning way. I'm going to be my best behavior today. I'm going to be talking about it in a proper, objective, analytical kind of way. Although, of course, it'll be silly and everything, because that's our style. Well, my style and all that kind of stuff. But I want to talk about it in a proper way, and is this the direction that Games Workshop is going in with all their games now? And what do we think about that? So, see, two actual topics, and there might actually be, in amongst all of the drivel and waffle, there might actually be a few nuggets of slightly less useless information.
Cool. Happy days.
So, first thing, let's talk about our game. Now, if you haven't seen the game, then please go and watch it. It will be the video that was out before this one, and if I remember, I'll make sure there's a link to it down in the description below. There's like a 50-50 chance that's going to happen. But Simon, what did you think of our game yesterday? Specifically, how did you find playing Empire for the first time? And what did you think of the mission?
Like Empire, I am thinking I do prefer sort of more elite troops.
Okay.
Which is a bit worried when I'm going to be doing potentially doing Tomb Kings, but that's by the by. That's some more self-flagellation, probably. See, I really like the mission, and we had this conversation off camera, and I didn't have an issue with it before, didn't have an issue with it during, and I thought it added a lot to the game.
Okay, so let's delve into Empire a little bit more, and then we'll get into the mission. So which bits of the Empire, because obviously I played Empire for ages, but you were a fresh set of eyes looking at it.
Yeah.
So which bits of the Empire did you feel were quite strong, and which bits did you feel you struggled with?
You know what's really weird, and it's probably psychology more than anything, is that if I was facing those 3 cannons, I'd be shitting myself. And then when I'm buying them, I'm thinking, they're not that great.
It's weird. I'm exactly the same.
So strange that you sat there and going, oh, okay, right. They're perhaps not as not as horrific as I thought. But then I guess the one when I played against your dwarf cannons, I was charging it down with 8 silver helms and not 50 gobos or however many gobos. So that kind of changes things slightly.
Yeah, people think cavalry is good against war machines, but in my experience, it's not.
Really not. No. And I guess it's probably if you was fighting against a more elite army, it would feel different. But against a horde army, I don't. It's to me the artillery. I really enjoyed the artillery, and I think I would much rather face it with your orcs than my high elves. If I'm honest.
Because if a cannonball rips through a unit of white lions and kills 3 or 4 of them, then that's quite a lot of points that's just gone away. But if a cannonball rips through a unit of orcs and kills 3 or 4 of them, it's like 5 or 6 points per guy.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference there.
Well, I did really enjoy the match. It was quite good fun.
I would definitely say that you
don't really like the aesthetics of the Empire. That's my problem.
You don't like the aesthetics?
No.
You don't like the big poofy sleeves and the giant feathery hats and the cod pieces, man. The magnificent cod pieces.
Yeah. No, definitely Team Bretonia.
I don't even know how we are friends. You would choose the French over the fantastic Holy Roman Empire. My God, sir.
Yes, I think I would.
Damn your eyes. No, I actually think my next army for Old World is going to be Bretonia, and I've already got all the knights built, so I just need to paint them. I think I'm going to go for like a crusade style, because that might be kind of cool too, because they do errantry crusades in Bretonia and everything. And if you're doing Tomb Kings and I'm doing Bretonians, that really leans into the traditional lore of the Bretonians, because when they were getting shown off in White Dwarf well back in the day, what they did is really cool. Is they had when the Bretonians first got released, they did a battle report of Tomb Kings versus Bretonians, and then they did then when Bretonians got their refresh in 6th edition, they did another battle report. It's like years later, and they got the same armies and the same players to play the battle report again. And the idea was that in the first battle report, the Bretonians had lost, and the second battle report was the son of the Duke that had been killed had gone back to reclaim his father's honor and his family's honor and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. So Tomb Kings vs Bretonians is it's very proper for Old World. So that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a long way away.
Yeah, my Bretonians are a long way away.
All your excitement.
We're talking
the children army in the way first.
Yeah, we're talking.
You know how to the idea.
Well, to be fair, you've got your painting pens, so that might make things a bit quicker. But what about maybe 2026? Something like that?
We'll see.
Yeah, fair. What do you think of the state troops? Because in some areas they got a bit battered, but in others they were all right.
I mean, anything going into those Black Orcs that I've done so far has got battered. So, I mean, that's just the way they are. I think I'm not really had to. Be interesting to put a big group of great swords or sword masters or something in and just see how that goes. It'd be a different kettle of fish. Actually, I thought he did all right. To be fair, I mean, the mean, all right, they've whittled down that group on the left, on my left, your right, but they beat they won that combat pretty reasonably.
They beat the big guns, and
Yeah,
you beat and pretty handily. I think that was almost a quintessential example of Empire doctrine versus orcs, where the state troops and the orcs were equal, were sort of even numbered, and then the state troops used their detachments and fire support to whittle the orcs down. And then when the lines actually clashed, the fact that you had strength 4 on your halberds meant that my toughness 4 wasn't such a big deal. And so you were able to, through sort of numbers and discipline and Father Grigori wanting a new wife, were able to overwhelm the orcs. But it was a perfect, it was a, if there was an Empire training manual, that little mini battle right there would be like, and this, lads, today we're going to learn how to beat the orcs. That's how they'd use that in the training manuals, I think. It was cool.
We didn't beat them.
What was that?
We didn't beat them.
You beat that little skirmish. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think Black Orcs, though, I think are really good at bullying other people's core. But I think that I'm not sure they'll take on Sword Masters with any degree of certainty.
Getting a bit of actually getting some white lions and a big group of Sword Masters on there, and actually seeing if I can consume my way through them.
White Lions versus Black Orcs is a very interesting matchup because we've both got Furious Charge. So whoever charges who doesn't, I mean, it matters from an initiative point of view, but it doesn't matter so much from a number of attacks point of view, because if I charge you, I only get 1 rank, but everyone gets an extra attack. And if you charge me, you only get 1 rank, but everyone gets an extra attack. And the person who's defending gets an extra rank of guys. So that's a really even matchup. Sword Masters is a bit different, though, because obviously if you kind of want me to charge you, if you've got Sword Masters, because you'll have a very high initiative anyway, because great swords, you'll probably out initiative me because of it, and you're fighting 2 ranks. And so you'll probably cut most of me boys down before I get a chance to actually strike. And you've got the strength to, and the AP.
On them as well.
Yeah, Sword Masters the best. I'm just saying. Everyone loves White Lions, but Sword Masters the best.
They are. But everyone's saying they're not. But there you go. I've only played 2 games with them, so what would I know?
Everyone said to me, Simon, not to wipe myself off, but everyone said to me that playing Tau like Imperial Guard would be bad. Everyone on the internet, I got lambasted. I was raked over the coal fires. My reputation was dragged through the mud. I mean, rightly, they questioned my mental faculties, but that's neither here nor there. But then we did it, and we went undefeated, and single-handedly brought the Tau win rate up by like 5%. It wasn't quite that much. It wasn't that much. Okay, so we've talked a bit about Empire. So state troops are all right. But you need, I think my Empire army is in glaring need of some great swords, because state troops trying to fight up into special troops is just struggling.
Yeah, I think so.
The Free Company were funny.
They did all right, actually.
I'm actually going to give them a second look, because when they get charged, they're going to have so many attacks.
Yeah.
And when they get charged, they can do the whole standard shoot and throwing bottles in and stuff. So. Yeah.
No, quite like that.
Yeah, the Free Company were all right. Whilst we're on the topic, before we get into the missions, very quickly, for me, this was my first time playing with slightly more orcs than normal. And
really, you've not mentioned that.
I know, it was, for those that don't know, I was running slightly more orcs than normal.
Not as many.
Not as many as I could have done, but I could have run less as well.
Yeah.
No, on a serious note, my eyes have been opened. I used to be Team Goblin all the way. I'm kind of feeling like Team Orc now. It's just, you're just so much better. Like, I'm not saying, because when you might think it's a bit strange to be saying that, because obviously one Orc unit got the piss beaten out of it by like steam tank and all that kind of stuff, and one orc unit got the piss beaten out of it by the state troops and stuff. But the big thing for me was that it took you a lot longer to get through those orc units, and those orc units were much more of a threat than the goblins. You know, the goblins actually achieved way more in that game. But to be fair, I just took 30 goblins and just ran down, just sprinted them at some cannons whilst they hide behind some trolls.
They probably won you the game, to be honest.
To be fair, the goblins are game winning. But what I found was like when you were like, whenever someone attacks me when I've got goblins, they just die. Like the weapon skill 2 means everyone's hitting you on 3s, so you're just taking more hits. You're only toughness 3. Everyone and the mum is out there using probably strength 4 because of like halberds and great weapons. You know, strength 4 or higher. So you get wounded on 2s and 3s, and then you know you get then you go over to orcs, and it's just like, okay, I'm just T4, and being able to get T4 on your base troops for 5 points is wild.
Yeah,
it's wild. They're only armor 6 up, but I actually genuinely I wonder if there's something to orc boys with hand weapon and shield, because you could get T4 with a 4-up save on them, light armor, shield.
Pity unit, surely.
Yeah,
not gonna be more gonna...
It's only 6 points a bloke as well.
Is that all?
Yeah, because you're just paying for your shield. So you're 5 points base. You come with 1 hand weapon and light armor. You spend 1 point to get the extra hand weapon.
240, you get a block, an 8x5 block.
Just
part that in the middle.
Yeah, and remember, orcs, they get more leadership the more ranks you have. So I'll be leadership 10.
Yeah.
And I'll be leadership 10. I'll have a great rank bonus, and as long as I've got a BSB nearby, I'm leadership 10 rerollable by and large for the whole thing, and it's not that expensive to do so, and I've got to take something in my core anyway.
Yeah.
So I am definitely, I've got a unit of like 30 orc boys which aren't built at the moment, and I think I might build them. I was going to build them with more double hand weapons, but I think I've got about 40-50 boys with double hand weapon now, so I think I'm going to build them with shields and just see.
They're the anvil, aren't they? They're not the hammer.
Yeah, exactly. Just take the unit, put it on that hill, and just be like, ugh. Yeah. Anyway, so that was my thinking on. Orcs are tough, and I actually quite enjoyed fielding a tough army, and I actually am now going to be working quite furiously towards not only having slightly more orcs than normal, Simon, but actually running a pure orc army. And the idea is probably take the trolls out and put a giant in, or keep the trolls. You have one big monster, big unit of boar boys, and black orcs, big guns, and some other boys. Yeah, and just see how that. Maybe some some rock lobbers and stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely we're going to pursue pure orc for a little bit.
Get some doom divers.
I've got one.
Oh, well, there you go. Make sure that's it. That's far too cool.
Yeah. I've only got one. You could take 2, but I'm trying to resist. There's an overpowered orc list called the Orc Artillery list, where you just take 2 rock lobbers, 2 doom divers, and something like 2 bolt throwers, and it just flattens people because it's all indirect, so they can't hide from it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is kind of, and not. It just doesn't feel very orky. Orcs about getting stuck into combat.
Yeah.
And maybe that's my 40k mindset, because orcs are orc ballistic skill is fine in Old World. They're not against using bows and stuff. But as a 40k player who plays Old World, I feel like Chopper is better than Twanger. It's not Daka because there's no guns. It's Twanger for the bowstrings. Yeah. Now, Simon, shall we discuss the mission?
Yes.
Tell us your thoughts.
I really liked it. I'll be honest, I liked it before. We were having a conversation before we started, and you got into Horus Heresy 3.0 mode, and I was just like, I don't get it. I quite like it. It's not too. We're not intrusive. it's there. It's a bonus. It's quite a lot of bonus points, but actually you can still play around it. And that's I thought it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it added another layer of tactical depth. It kind of stopped the you know, where you actually get to turn 6 before you make your move, kind of potential shenanigans. You know, and I get the argument, you know, someone could be out of sight by turn 3. Well, someone will be out of sight in turn 3 with kill missions anyway. So, I mean, that's just an absolute nonsense argument, to be fair. You know, it's plenty of game systems where actually turn 2 or 3, you go, yeah, that's all she wrote. So I thought it was really, really good. You know, and I was thinking that, you know, it's the same. I'm trying to work out what it is that I like about Old World, and I think it's the same thing that I like about bolt action, is the fact that you are not. You can I think it's always slightly less lethality, but I can come up with a plan at the start of it and go, this is why I'm going to deploy, and this is what my general battle plan is going to be. And it, you know, yesterday it didn't work, but at least I managed to get run my battle plan past turn 1. You know, and I think that, and having those missions adds to that. So I was expecting to give it up for 2 turns. I was hoping to get it on turn. It was turn 4. It wasn't enough to catch up. But at least I got to implement a plan that's lasted throughout the game, which you can do in bolt action, but I don't think you can do in 40k because of various factors.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. And Simon, I you know what? Let everyone bet me sitting down. I 100% agree with you. I think I will add in some other perspectives though.
Yeah.
And some more, you know, and add in a few of my own thoughts. So for the people back home, we were playing Match Play Guide with the 1.5 FAQ, and we were playing the first. Well, it's the second mission in the Match Play Guide. The first mission is just kill each other, which is the traditional one. We were playing the first new mission, which was King of the Hill. Now, in King of the Hill, there is whoever is within 9 inches. You're trying to control the center of the battlefield, which is a hill. But the hill, you can have any size hill that you want. The thing is that you basically, whoever's nearest, the hill is in the center, and whoever's nearest to the center of the board with core, with a unit, with a unit of sufficient strength, I think it's unit strength 10, starts scoring a bonus of 100 victory points in each player's turn. So if that means there's 200 extra points up for grabs in each battle round, which means over a 6-turn game, there's potentially 1,200 points available. So it's a lot of extra bonus points. And this was the first. Now, I've been to a tournament where I've played with the new match play missions, and I've played one game with Simon now. So I've got about 4 games under my belt. I've played them with 2 different factions. I played with my orcs yesterday, and I played my empire at the event. And so I've got enough of a feeling for them now. And on the one hand, I think there are some incredible positives to these missions. Firstly, it absolutely rewards taking core, because core is the only thing that can score. And as we were saying before, core, it can actually struggle into special units, but it de-incentivizes you to take special units, because if you just take a bunch of special stuff and try and smash the enemy, well, if that plan doesn't go to fruition, then the enemy will be there scoring loads of extra bonus points and can actually run away with it a little bit. Secondly, there's not only have you got King of the Hill, but you've got other missions which involve on standing on circles, you know, very 40k style, standing on circles, strung out across the board, like 3 objectives across the middle. And again, that discourages people from gunlining, because one of the things that was a big thing pre-match play guide was this idea of the projection of force. That was the meta of Old World, was the projection of force. Now, you could project force either via shooting the shit out of people, which is typically what Empire did. And so if you can project, or by projecting force via things like cavalry, because they can move very quickly. Infantry were very bad at projecting force because they were very slow. And so the whole thing is that if you can project more force, this was the old meta. If you could project more force than your opponent, then you can force them to kind of react to you. If I bring more guns than you, even if you brought a lot of guns, if I bring more guns than you, then it means that you have to come to me. And if you're an army like dwarves, who may have been kind of banking on the fact that your guns were going to make people come to you, suddenly flipping that script puts you in a very difficult position. Likewise, if you're someone that was bringing a lot of cavalry, but as we said before, cavalry is not particularly good into war machines. If I bring a sufficient amount of guns, it can really start messing with the plan, and it's like an uphill battle. But these new missions stop that. If I just gun line, and my opponent basically just squats on the objectives the whole game, well, with infantry, because bear in mind, war machines aren't particularly good into infantry. Even Hellblaster volley guns aren't, one Hellblaster volley gun and a cannon wasn't enough to stop 30 goblins and 4 trolls just running them down. So war machines aren't particularly good into blocks of dense infantry. So trying to sit there and just gun line people isn't going to work. If you take something like Bretonnian peasants or skeletons, where we're looking at like 4 points per model, and you just take a brick of 80 of those guys, 2 bricks of them, and just dump them on the objectives, and then just have knights nearby, making them like not wanting to break, and BSBs and all that kind of stuff. And Sword just tries to sit there and shoot the piss out of you. It's not going to work. So, and combine that with the fact that infantry now are very good on the defensive. And I think that, the new missions, and the 1.5 FAQ go really well together, and they have a direct and positive impact on how we play the game. The meta has shifted, and that's fantastic. And core now is very important.
Yeah.
However, one last positive thing. And when Simon and I were playing that hill mission, there was a really, really good game of cat and mouse going on between who wants to like blink first around the hill, but you could kind of force your opponent to blink first by moving quite close to the center of the hill, and then they would have to try and get closer to you to score their points. And there was a lot of maneuverability and maneuver that was important. And Old World, and this is something you said in the game, you're like, oh, I'm really struggling with this like moving the units, and I'm like, that's the key to more than anything else. Learning how to maneuver units is the most difficult and the most satisfying part of the game. So with all that said, so I've been very positive. I've been washing the balls of Old World. I've said all the positives. However, this is one thing that I am feeling a sense of trepidation around. At the end, the mission was King of the Hill. The point of the mission was to capture the hill in an in-universe and immersive sort of way. The idea is there's obviously a wider battle going on, and our 2 armies are detachments of a larger force, and we're trying to take this hill so that we can gain some high ground to give us a bigger tactical advantage. Like your empire trying to take this hill so they can put their guns on the hill, and then that will start letting them, influence the wider battlefield and all this kind of stuff. At the end of the game, Simon, you were firmly and utterly in control of the hill. You had, from an immersive point of view, won the game, achieved the mission. The hill was yours, and it was secured in a big way. And yet you lost the game.
Yeah, but you can say that about any other game.
Okay, go on.
All right, so let's get into what's the bolt action one where you have to get the VIP or the thing off the table edge.
Not the relic in the middle and get it off.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So if you're going to go down to the nth degree, you go, right, I've been absolutely tabled. I've got one unit with one man who's got this relic who's just walked off the edge of the board. Oh, hang on a sec, there's an armoured car 4 inches behind it. It's not like if you're going to get in the real world, that armoured car is going to go, oh, you've crossed an imaginary line, I'm going to stop here and you've won. It just makes, you can't, you just have to make the game fun. So there's plenty of, you play, in the real world, you don't have table edges, you don't have X, Y, and Z, you've got all these different things. You can always come up with a narrative. You could say that, you're fighting for that battle, but actually that's just a part of the skirmish because there's a bigger battle going away, and whoever's got that's got visibility on the maneuver, what's going on in the bigger battle or whatever. So That honestly, that seems like a bit of a nonsense argument to me.
So
it's because you could say I would, but then actually, if you do on an extra turn, your Black Hawks would have just come and knocked 3 shades of shite out of the state troops that were on the top of the hill.
I only had my boss left at that point. I don't think that would have happened.
Oh yeah, you did actually.
I had about 4 models left on the board. Not quite, but I had a lot. All my characters still alive, but all my forces were basically battered.
Yeah. Or then you go into, well, actually, why do you need your core troops to do it? Why can't a steam tank do it? You'll see one of your cats in the background.
Yeah, down here.
I just see the ears moving. Oh, well, there's a tail.
There you go.
So that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I thought it worked well. It forced better gameplay, and I'd rather play a better game than worry about, getting to the nth degree on a narrative like that.
So it's not, for me, it's not a case of narrative. It's a case of, yes, we are playing a game, and games should be fun, of course. But I also feel like there has been a shift, and we're not necessarily. I want to make something clear. We're not necessarily criticizing or lambasting the new missions. We've made it very clear that we enjoyed them. It's more of an analysis, an observation of what we, of the impact of this, and also sort of seeing how it's fitting into sort of the wider game design philosophy that Games Workshop seems to have. So going back to your point, there aren't battlefield edges and stuff. Of course, I mean, you could say, well, how has he got off the board? And there's there's an enemy armored car that's right behind him. It's like, well, maybe he's got, but then you can now do that. Say, well, he's got off the board to a waiting transport, and now that's zoomed him away, kind of thing. So there are, there's loads of different ways you can, but the immersion can flow naturally, and I just feel that there's a big shift at the moment from in GW's game design philosophy, where they are putting, this might sound like, this might sound like it's crazy that I've even mentioned this, but they're almost putting like, it's changing from the missions attempting to simulate something on the battlefield, like taking a hill or enveloping the enemy, doing a flank attack and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like they're no longer trying to simulate that kind of stuff. And instead now there are these arbitrary, and the arbitrary is a loaded word, so, but bear with me. There are these arbitrary things that we do in the game to score points, and so it's not a board. I don't want to say board game, because I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. And there are plenty of board games that I think have, like look at Nemesis, for example. That's a board game, and yet you could not say it's like playing Monopoly. Do you know what I mean? But there's it feels like things are becoming more of a game and less of a war game. Like, we're standing on these points we're standing here to get a bunch of points, but why are we getting a bunch of points by standing here? If the mission is to take the hill, we don't control the hill, then why have we lost?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? If the mission is there's another one where it's called like envelopment, where you have to basically, there's like 2 objectives on the flank, and the idea is it's meant to simulate you are trying to hold. There's an objective on each flank. There's an objective in each deployment zone, and the idea is you're trying to take the flanks and hold your center. Each side is trying to outflank each other, and I quite like that one. But I almost feel like, well, if at the end of the game, you let's say if you held those flanks for a long time, but then eventually got wiped out, at the end of the game, your opponent is now controlling the flanks and the home objective, then it feels like if you were trying to do a flank attack, you have failed, because even though you've scored more points towards the end of the game, let's say you've won on points, your flank attack has failed. You don't hold the flanks. You've not doing the envelopment. So do you see what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it doesn't lead to good games. Really enjoyed the games, and that game yesterday completely changed my mind. I was feeling very worried about 1.5 and match play. Really enjoyed it. Fantastic. Can't sing its praises enough from a gameplay point of view. I'm just commenting on, it seems like we're getting gameplay first, immersion second. And I would say, if I was being honest, I'm a little worried to where that leads, because I like 40k from a gameplay point of view. I really enjoy 40k competitively. You know, this, you'll know this, Sam, because you're a tournament player. There's nothing like testing your mettle in a tournament. You know, coming up with a list, go into a tournament, with the heady heights of winning games, the terrible heights of losing games. But that's more about the winning and losing, and less about the sort of immersion. And so if I would say I had one concern, and I'd want you to push back on it or agree in one way, or whatever you want to do, Simon.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree.
Are we seeing a general policy with we've had it with Horus Heresy, we've had it with Old World, and we've got it with 40k, where GW is doing gameplay first and immersion second? The missions are there to be games, not to be battlefield simulations, for lack of a better term.
No, actually, I think that's just bashing 40k and that's what that's leading to. No, I honestly, no, because no one's putting a gun to anyone's play the match play guide. If you want to play Old World in exactly the same way, you can do. If you want to play narrative 40k, you can. It's just, I say that honestly, I'm like a broken record every week when we talk about this, is that people do what they want and then moan about what they're doing, and it's and every week I say the same thing time and time and time. If you don't want to play secondary 40k based games, just go and play games without, go and play Crusade, go and play this, that, and it. If you want to play Old World where it's just killing, just go and play Old World where it's just, no one is putting a gun to anyone's head and saying you have to play the match play guide. And in honesty, if we were sat here 2 years later and you only had the kill mission, you'd all be sat there going, Games Workshop, they're not updating this anymore. It's a dead game system, blah, 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 because that's what people do. They'll moan about it. So they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. And I just, honestly, I just think people like to moan about Games Workshop games, which they obviously really enjoy, because people put an awful lot of effort into the armies, into the hobby, making friends, going to events. Why would you do that if you don't like what you're doing? So honestly, I just think it's fashionable to bash, and then get on there. Everything's going this way or the other, and I say that every single week. If we didn't want to play the match play guide, we didn't have to yesterday.
So if I may push back on something, on a couple of bits there, and I think there's a potential for quite an interesting discussion here. Firstly, on the topic of no one puts a gun to your head and makes you play in a certain way. I, 40k especially, don't think that is particularly true, because it is very difficult to it's actually quite difficult to get a long-term Crusade thing going. A Crusade is definitely campaign based for long term. Also, Crusade is incredibly abusable, and you yourself have been involved in a Crusade. I believe it was at Warlords. I may be putting words in your mouth. Please forgive me if I am. But if it's not yourself, I know other people who have played Crusade. Shout out like Alex Wargamer and stuff like that, who they've been involved in Crusades, and people just instantly turned up and started just taking the best stuff possible, and it ruined the Crusade because people were bringing that match play philosophy. Hang on one second. Hang on. So A, Crusade is very abusable, and B, I think the very important thing is there's match play in 40k is so prevalent now that it is the number one way people play. If you go down to your local club, whatever it may be, anywhere around the world, and say, does anyone want to do a Crusade? At best, you will be met with a lukewarm response.
Right,
more than likely.
That's so that's how people play the game. You can't So,
I'm not saying, no, I'm not saying it's not how people play the game. Again, what
I'm not sure what you're arguing for. You either have the ways of playing the game, and then people pick and choose how they want to play the game, which is what's going on, because you can play Crusade, you can play, you can literally just pick every single model up off your shelf and go and have a play your games. But people are choosing to play competitively. They're choosing to play this. That's what people want. The old world community wanted some more variety in the games. That's what we got. And it's every single. It's like, oh, they're doing this. Well, you don't have to. No one put a gun against my head and said, "Do an Emperor's Children army." I went, that looks really cool. I'm going to enjoy doing that, so I'm going to doing it. But there was no one saying, "All right, yeah." So they do a lot of stuff wrong. But I just find the whole online ecosystem of people bashing the hobby. Well, go and do a different hobby. I just don't play match play. Don't play that. And I get if the whole community round, where you are is playing hyper competitive 40k, but let's be clear, around where we are, there's Warlords is a smaller club, but there's quite a big gaming club in the local area that is nowhere near as competitive focused as Warlords. Right? If I wanted to go and play on a much more less competitive basis, I would go to that club. And I know some really nice blokes who are there. We play all sorts of different games. I go to Warlords because that's where I go, and that's what Yes, if you're in a competitive meta or your metas, but again, set up your own meta. Go and find someone who wants to play the game. But there was absolutely no one who made us that system yesterday. No one. It was just that's what we chose to. What you did.
No. So, but joking aside, I think if I may, I'm not talking about what people, and I will admit I got slightly sidetracked, or maybe just went down the wrong rabbit hole for a second. I'm not talking about what people want to play and what people don't want to play. I'm not talking about the virtues of match play versus the virtues of narrative play, or whatever you may call it. More what I was talking about, because I don't want to revisit the same topic every week. And so what I was talking about was, it was an observation.
That people, we talked last week, it wasn't about the mission. Valid. And I'll come back to that. That game 40k is as lethal is because people would moan if it wasn't that lethal.
But so we're not really talking about what people are moaning about or not moaning about. The point that I was trying to sort of talk about was, is there a significant and noticeable shift in game design from Games Workshop? Now, it very well may be that there is, and that GW has noticed, and the communities have noticed that they like these cumulative scoring things, because every game system now basically has cumulative scoring in it. So let us, for one moment, put aside the will people moan about it, will people like it element, because as you have...
I'm including myself in this.
And I am including myself in it. I love a good moan. We all love a good moan. It's something cathartic about it. You can, as sort of one of my colleagues used to say, you've got to let everyone get the BMW out, the bitching, moaning, and whining. Let them get the bile out, and then we can start actually having the conversation. So, Simon, I want to make something clear. I don't want you to think I'm dismissing anything you've said before. I think everything you said before is very valid and important, but let us not go down that rabbit hole once again. Let's instead talk about game design and how it seems quite interesting that in the last 6 months, we have seen three. I don't know about Age of Sigmar. If you know about Age of Sigmar, let me know down in the comment section. But the three game systems that we are aware of, 40k, Old World, and Horus Heresy, have all switched to cumulative scoring. And 40k was very much the first one to do it, and now we've seen them switch it with Heresy and Old World. Now,
Heresy used to have cumulative scoring in the V2, didn't it? Can't say for V1.
Okay, so Maybe. It very well may have done in some of the expansion missions. I do believe it was more about holding the objectives at the end.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah,
I do believe. So I guess my point here is it's interesting to see this game design shift. Now, do you want me to waffle for a bit while you're finding something?
Yeah. Okay. I'm intrigued now. Yeah, I'm
All good. So I will waffle to you guys for a moment. One of the things that I have found really interesting is that this game design shift has happened. And one of the things that I found very interesting about it is that, like Simon and I said in our old world game, we actually quite enjoyed it. Yes, I think you could definitely say it was a little weird that the Empire planted their flag on top of the hill they were fighting for and they didn't win. But it's interesting because we very much enjoyed the game. And we always enjoy old world, but I think we especially enjoyed the game yesterday, and a huge part of that was the back and forth over the hill. Now, what's really interesting to me here is how we're seeing things progress with Heresy 3.0. So, obviously Simon likes to take the piss out of me for moaning about Heresy 3.0 all the time. I've got all of that out of my system now. I've got my BMW out of my system about that, which is why I'm purposefully not moaning today. I think I did a little moan before, but I stopped myself. But
there's kind of a mix. So Blood Feud is cumulative, although it's more.
That's kill each other, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so yeah. All right. No, I stand corrected. I do stand corrected. So yeah, no, Mace at the end of the game. Yeah, no, fair point.
So what's interesting, Simon, is I did a video this week about Heresy 3.0, and it was a first impressions video from my mate Chansey, and he was the one that actually got me into Heresy. So I wanted to do a first impressions with him because he played his first game about what because he's going to teach me how to play 3.0, and we're going to sort of continue that little sort of narrative that we've got, and then I'm going to inflict it upon you. Now, the comments that he said that he struggled with the game, especially from a list building point of view, but we won't get into that. But a lot of the comments said that there was a very big theme running through the comments, which is I didn't like Heresy 3.0 when I saw it, but now that I've played several games of it, I actually quite like it.
Yeah.
Now that, again, we're not talking about people bitching and moaning and then being wrong and changing their minds. What we're talking about there is, I think there's an element of what we experienced in the old world where we liked the old system and people are starting to come around to 3.0 because it's got some good gameplay in it.
Yeah.
Now that might be what's changed people's minds. So then it sort of comes down to the next big question. So I want you to comment a little bit on what you think about game design in a moment. But the follow-on question is going to be, my follow-on question, well, we'll stick with the game design one first. So what are your thoughts? And wax lyrical like I have. I've waffled for loads. So Simon, it's your turn to waffle.
Yeah.
Give us as much as you can. What do you think about the changing game design from more traditional end of game scoring and killing each other to
if I'm honest, it's difficult because I've pretty much always played cumulative scoring since I've come back to the hobby.
That's okay.
So, I didn't play a lot of thingy, and I perhaps misconstrued the point you were trying to make. In all fairness, that might be me holding my hand up. I don't.
That's okay. You're so used to me moaning, Simon. It makes sense.
I like it because I thought yesterday was it was a one-off game. I thought good example how cumulative scoring can influence the game throughout the game, but without completely breaking it, if I'm honest. So it's not like all of a sudden this unit's just going to zap off and do random makes no, where actually everything was around how am I going to control that objective at the end. It's more of it, enough of the game to beat you. It didn't work, like I said, but actually it that added a layer of sort of strategic thinking for 6 games, as opposed to what I sometimes think when you get to where it's only 1 or 2. You know, I'm going to get this unit because I get 6 victory points for being in your home objective at the end of the your deployment's at the end of the game, so I'm going to get them. They're not going to. They're going to jump out and go, ooh, look at me.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really nice balance. Was 100 points? No, we play it more. But I really liked that as a mechanic. And I think using board games is quite a good example, because if you look at more modern board games now, that a lot of board games are designed to keep players, you know, even if you're behind, that you've got some kind of catch-up mechanic, or there's actually something you can do. But if you go back 20 years, some of the older games, you know, actually you could be absolutely blatted by turn 2 or 3 or whatever, and completely out of it. So board game design and people, game officials will be able to go into more depth on. But actually, board game design has changed to allow, I believe so anyway, to have, what's the word? To be less brutal. It's almost. I'm going completely off topic and talking out my backside.
No,
here.
it's okay. I absolutely agree. Monopoly, back in the day.
Maybe that actually there is that element of just wargaming. What I'm trying to say is board games have designed and scored and all the rest of it, so that's a different. And are what we're seeing just an evolution of wargaming from Games Workshop? Is that just, you know, actually this is a better way of doing it, so this is the way we're going to do it, and it's only people who've done it for the same way 20-30 years who are getting a little bit upset about it.
And I think there's an element of, if we're honest, Games Workshop is a business. They need to appeal to their customer base, and I think for a while now, but definitely I think it's beyond doubt now, the majority of their customers are going to be people like yourself who have only done cumulative scoring, and so they want more of that. Where
I don't think it's a case of what we want more of. I mean, I'm just used to it more than anything. But no, I mean, I did not think there was anything really for me to say yesterday. That game we played, this is a bad system or a bad way to score. I thought it was really, really. I thought we could still battle three shades of shit out of each other. In fact, that's why you won. You know, there's only 100 points difference in the hill scoring. It was more interactive in terms of actually, you know, how am I going to, you know, play this game? And actually, I think it does encourage different list building as well. And I think that's the key thing, because, you know, if you were playing that and it was just who's going to be on the top of it at the very end, you know, actually, do you build a completely different list?
And I think
I don't know is the honest answer, but because you've got different types of mission, then if you're going to play sort of in a competitive event or you're trying to create, it does force you to put other stuff, you know, think slightly different about how you play it.
And I think I think Old World's got it right, because I think it's not only about. So you talked before about doing a plan, and
yeah.
I think what's great about that game and that mission is that if we were to do it again, you could do the same plan, but now armed with the knowledge from the last game, tweak your list and tweak your tactics. And so you can, so it's not only feeding into your game plan in that particular battle, but it will feed into your game plan on, in general, how does one take a hill in Old World?
Yeah.
And then you can start. So I think that's very good, because it means you're not only thinking about the game in the game, but you're thinking about the game outside of the game as well. Now, if we and again, we're not bitching and moaning here. We've been very good at making sure we've not done that. We are talking about game design.
Well, I've had a rant.
That's okay. It wouldn't be a video.
That's like the old man shouting at clouds in modern world is.
No. Simon, you're so used to me moaning that you thought I was going down the same rabbit hole again, and it was you were probably just like, fuck's sake, I don't want to talk about this again. So it's totally okay, which is what I said we weren't going to, that's why I was like, let's clarify this,
Yeah.
But one thing I'll say, go on, you go first, because my question, I'll remember it.
Are the more cumulative scoring? Yes. Where you is it a bad thing? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I
think there's pros and cons, because I would say cumulative scoring I think it's how you implement. If you've got a mission which is like, oh, you're trying to raid these supplies, so that the longer you're on the objective, the more supplies you're getting.
Yeah.
Great. That's that. I think you kind of. I think there should be a mixture. I think there should be some cumulative scoring missions, and there should be some holding at the end missions.
Yeah. No, I mean that would work.
One thing I would posit is, do we think that let's talk about 40k for a moment, because I always find it interesting playing non-40k games and then using it to reflect on 40k itself, because 40k is the big dog.
Yeah.
Do we think in 40k one of the changes to game design could be the separation of primary and secondary within the same game? So how it used to be in the past is you had holding objectives and scoring points, like primary as we know it today, but secondaries would be their own thing. So you'd have what was called Eternal War missions and Maelstrom of War missions. Eternal War being primary only. Yeah. I think one of the I think a lot could be solved with. Solved is the wrong word. I think there could be a great benefit to 40k separating those two again, because as you said at the beginning, it's nice to be. One of the things you like about bolt action and old world is being able to have a plan and implementing it. And I think secondaries mess with that. I don't think that.
Yeah, I think the secondaries as fluid as in 40, yes, but we go back to the lethality of it. So that if we play, you can't really do that in 40k because you're just going to end up being shot off the board. That. So I think almost the way the secondaries are is almost perhaps I don't know. It has to be like that in 40k because the game's so lethal.
If there was a change to be made, it would have to be in conjunction with maybe some lethality changes as well.
Yes, exactly. Because, and I guess the other flip side, and this goes back that I think the fundamental thing is that do you think that if you get tabled, you should be able to win again? Because if you got like an end
personally,
of the,
no, I think, well, within the context of the mission, if you got tabled turn 5, but the mission was trying to simulate you stealing as much data or something from terminals as possible. If everyone dies, but you stole the most data, then, well, some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So I'm okay with it. So it depends on the context. But generally, in 40k now, no.
Yeah, but if you're going to go down the route of whoever ends, right, then you can win by tabling someone. If you want to actually play the game where you can win without being whilst being tabled, then I think that's actually is an interesting game mechanic because it's another way of playing it. I think it just builds more variety to the game. Then you need cumulative scoring, surely.
I'm not against cumulative scoring. I suppose I would prefer it if I was to inject some personal feelings in here. I think you can absolutely have cumulative scoring that is immersive. So one of the things I suppose I have an issue with in 40k is there is a lack of flavor text in a lot of places. Like when we were reading out about the pigeon bombs, and it just, perhaps wisely, the pigeon has flown away. Like just those two.
Yeah, you can see codexes are getting. I think back to.
Yeah.
Every there's a full page on a hellhound, full page on an infantry squad, and a full page on a Lehman Ross, and now it's just like a little. Yeah,
we still don't know where the Rogel Dawn came from. That's the it just appeared.
Yeah. No,
So,
I can understand that. Yeah.
So I think 40K could go a long way to, and with almost not changing anything, but 40K could go a long way to just adding some flavor text in there. So, when you're describing what this, let's say one of the missions is called like data scry salvage. I think that's something they used to call it, and you would. The idea is you're not going on and just holding an arbitrary point on the battlefield. Yes, you are. In gameplay purposes, you absolutely are. But immersion-wise, what's happening is you are sending troops in there, and they're desperately trying to extract data from like cogitators and stuff, so that they can, and whoever, or they're trying to encrypt the data or destroy the data, whatever it may be. But you're trying to, or maybe you're going in there trying to extract supplies, whatever it may be. I think that's really good. One of my favorite missions is Scorched Earth in 40K, because it actually feels like, oh, why are you destroying this? You're going in there and destroying the objective, and you get bonus points for doing that. So I really like. So Scorched Earth is probably my favorite 40K mission at the moment, because it feels like it's not just standing on a circle. We're there to do something.
It just goes back to that's 40K popularity is just doing that.
Yeah, be careful. Last week.
It's getting more and more and more popular. And, and so they're just giving people what they want.
I think so.
And that just keeps, and it just goes back to, and I'll keep cumulative scoring. Yeah, I think it's quite good. I've not played enough, non-cumulative scoring. I think it probably is a better game mechanic just because of. You can't just sit there and gunline like you said with dwarves or whatever, or I'm not going to actually interact with this. All I'm going to do is try and blow you off. So I think it does add. I think the fact that you can play 40K, get tabled and lose the game, win the game is a good, good is not a worse thing.
If I may say something, if I may interject, I think in theory and on occasion it is possible to win on points, but I think it is not impossible, but I think it is generally the exception, not the norm, to do that.
Yeah, but the fact that it exists.
Yes, but I think 40K, I think it has all of these mechanics for secondary game and primary game, and it has all these things, and yet often the thing that is winning you a game is just battering your opponent's army. So, which comes back to lethality, but we're not going to go down the rabbit hole because we've talked about it to death. So I wonder if 40K could benefit from something like what old, because imagine if our game yesterday, core wasn't, anything could score that hill.
Yeah.
That would completely change the way we build our armies, because I'd just take the most lethal stuff because, it can score and it can kill. So I think 40K, I think if we had a similar system to Old World, where you could only score primary if you have a unit that is of a certain unit strength, not just, I'm the only guy here, so I get it. And I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, and I do, because it makes the armies look like armies. I said this about the new bolt action, that when I see, I like to see, that's why when I play in Steel Legion, you will always see 5 or 6 infantry squads in chimeras, always.
Yeah.
That's just me, and everyone plays the game different. I don't know. I don't think there's anything
negative. I think we're having a good conversation.
The reason why that game is a juggernaut. There is absolute, and is it the best game system? It's a very, very, very good game system. That's not,
I agree. I think 40K is good.
It's got, it's got branded. There's a whole smorgasbord of reasons why that game is the juggernaut that it is. But fundamentally, it's a very good game.
I think,
and if it wasn't a very good game, it would not sustain the growth that it's doing. And it's only natural that any, company is going to kind of go, actually, that's working there. Can we take elements of that and That's that.
I think 40k is a good game. I think I would say that there are other games which do things better than it, but that's only natural. There are some, and then there are going to be some games which do things worse than it. I would no longer say, from a game mechanic point of view, I don't think 40k is the greatest game. I think it is one amongst equals. I think there are things Old World does better. I think there are things that Bot Action does better.
I think Bolt Action does better. I would discuss that. Yeah.
I think 40k is. I think the foundation of that IP is rock solid. I think it does. I think people can look past so much because of how just there's something it triggers in the human psyche of 40k. It's good. The universe is great. Now I've got one more question for you, and I appreciate we're starting to get a little bit pressed for time. So I had an idea the other day, and I wondered what your take would be. So let us go into an imaginary universe for 30 seconds. 40k has implemented some of the changes that we've said, like you have to only certain units can score. They have to be a certain unit strength. And let us, for a time, let us say that they've separated, maybe not, but they've separated primary and secondary. Okay, let's just say they've done that. Now, what do you, in that universe, but also in our current universe, so we're talking about sort of two things parallel here, what would you say if we're not talking game design here, we're talking army design, what if they brought in percentages like in Old World, where a certain amount of your army would have to be battle line? And what do you think? Would you think that would help bring armies becoming armies?
I like that because I like armies to look like armies, but I don't think the community would take to that.
You don't. So you like it, but you don't think it would be widely popular?
No, not in the slightest.
Tell me more.
Well, because people want to take what they want to take. Now, this is, and it goes like, if you said to someone who's running I don't know, take your pick of an army, where actually having Space Marine intercessors is not, and then when you're running X, Y, and Z, and they're the cool units, and you said, well, actually, scratch that, you now have to paint up 40 intercessors because you need to have a certain amount of battle line or whatever. There will be uproar. There will be absolute uproar.
People,
and this is where that people play the games how they want to play it, and that's how they. I love, I absolutely love 40k. I love the community. I've got some very dear friends, present company excluded, who I've met from the community. I've been to America to events. I've been to Warhammer. I really like, So,
sorry, that's just really got me.
Well, it's for me personally, it's been a big positive, and it's been a big, part of my life for the last 7 years since I got back into to do this. So, I will always confuse me why people bash the hobby like they do. And I get, sometimes it's coming from how do we improve it? But actually, it's almost herd mentality, and you're not going to change. That's, so many people. If it was better the old way, it would still be the old way. I mean, that I think that's kind of the thing. And I just don't think people, community, would all of a sudden accept you're going to have to put all your cool toys back on.
Yes.
I can't see it. And the other flip side is, they kind of did that when you had, it was at 9th where if you had battle line, if you had one Imperial Guard soldier on, it didn't matter how much.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, but that's kind of the same, it's maybe not the best system, but yesterday it's the same system. I could have had my steam tank, and you just have one gobbo on there and you control the hill.
No, because you have to be a certain unit strength.
Right, all right, you could have 10 gobbos on the hill, and I could have, 50 whatever that aren't core, and you would control the hill. So there is an element.
Yeah.
You know, so actually, you know, when you actually think back to how it used to be, you go, well, actually, OC is a really good idea, and it, you know, certain units are better at it, but you can still hold it without. And actually, if you start unpicking some of the things,
I don't mind the idea of OC. I think OC is better than the old objective secured rule. That was all or nothing.
Yeah, that's.
I think that it would be very interesting if everything but battle line lost its OC, just everything, and it was just like, okay, so now you have to take battle line if you want to score primary. It'd be cool. It'd be interesting. But like you said, I think it's a very interesting point saying, no, people be in uproar, because I think it goes, people are more willing to accept when restrictions come out, because then they can do more of what they want. People, even if it's for the good of the game, probably struggle when more restrictions come in.
I think,
it's not a two-way street. It's definitely a one-way street.
I think people are very accepting of nerfs. It's affected.
Yeah, they nerf other people, but not me.
Human nature.
To be fair,
that's part of the fun part of the hobby.
Yeah. And I do think there is an element of that to a certain degree, but when Bridgehead Strike Force got nerfed, even the Scion players were like, yeah, okay, that's probably all right. That's probably appropriate. But I think that's... I'm kind of curious to see what they do with 11th, because they say it's going to be 10.5, and I wonder if some of what we've seen 40k start pollinating a little bit in Old World and Horus Heresy with previous scoring. I wonder if there'll be some cross-pollination with... I mean, hopefully they do cross-pollination Old World army building, not Heresy army building, because that looks like a bit of a Da Vinci Code. But hopefully we see... For me, I would love to see if I could wish it into existence, separation of primary and secondary. Let's go back to Total of War Maelstrom. And let's have scoring on primary be a bit more restrictive. Let's bring percentage-based army building in, and you can have those percentages shift depending on the detachment you're in. I think that's a good way of doing it. And the last thing, we won't talk about today, Simon, because I think we've gone on long enough, but maybe a good topic for another video. I would like them to see... I'd like to see morale be massively redone, because I think
morale really needs sorting. Yeah, I don't disagree.
And I have I've thought about this, and I have a system for it. And I think it's a good system, and I think you'll like it, but I'll leave it with you I'll leave it for the time being. Yeah. Simon, I think that was a strangely productive and non-moaning conversation from us.
I had a little,
sensible Simon and mild Mordian.
They're just giving people what we want. And I think that's, you know what, and it's the juggernaut game. It's going to get people what they want, whereas the niche games like I think that's where you're going to find those kind of things. But actually, I thought that mission yesterday was exceptional. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I very much enjoyed it from a gameplay point of view. I hope that we don't lose too much immersion, because I think one thing that makes the Old World so good is it's incredibly immersive and flavorful, down to the pigeon flying away. But let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about the way mission design is changing, game design is changing. Do you think that overall it does improve gameplay? And with this being a war game, that's the most important thing, which is why we're seeing 40k get bigger and better, and maybe we're starting to see people turn around on Heresy and stuff. Or do you think that, maybe we've got to be careful you don't go too far in one direction or another? Let us know what you think down in that comment section. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe and all that good stuff, because it really does help boost us with the YouTube algorithm and allows us to do what we do. But Simon, thank you so much for being here.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for your deep thoughts, thin coats, very thin with the painting pens now. And of course, as always, we'll see you guys next time. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure. and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, RJ, Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.